Now,
Right. Hello and welcome to Chicago Clubhouse Presents Plunked. Two teams, one city. I am one of your hosts, Kristen Fertit, and joining me is.
Emilio Bucks.
How are you doing today, Mr. Bucks?
Hey, as usual, I won't complain. I'm doing okay. How about you?
I won't because no one will care, so I won't.
Yeah, no, because everybody,
Actually, there's not much to complain about
there
and
you
nothing
go.
new. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing new. So,
Nothing new.
yeah.
Nothing new. Yeah.
But
We're
yeah,
here. We're alive.
right. I completely forgot about our intro. I'm
Uh,
just,
it's
I'm
okay.
just, no, I mean, I just started like, hey, oh, wait.
I kind of forgot about it too. I
That's,
actually I pushed it a
we,
little late too.
we
So
got
I was like,
videos.
yeah.
Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a lot of baseball to talk about, some good things, some bad things, some promising things on both sides. So let's get it started.
Okay.
Let's talk about the White Sox. They had Would
Mm.
you characterize this last series as their first true test of good, solid
I
playoff team?
I I won't say it's their first true test, but it is definitely their most recent test. This team that's been hot this
Mhm.
last month. This has been, like they had some series out on the West Coast to start off that, they really needed to show better on, like in Anaheim and
Yeah,
whatnot.
that's
But,
true.
the team has kind of found its groove since then. We're rolling. Just peaked a little bit too early. I see my lights flickering. I got the air conditioners back in now. It's hot. It's humid in Chicago.
It is. It is. I
Uh,
put mine in.
Yes, as you can see, Kristen looks like Reby and like 80
Yes.
Reby Jackson, 83.
Yes, the hair must. And then, I'm growing out my hair, so you have the
Okay.
ugly, awkward, where it's too short.
Was not
But
long enough.
you're
All
right,
right.
but it's humid. My hair is curly, and my hair said, "You can try to be straight if you want to. I'm
Hey,
curling
like,
up."
hey, we gonna do what it do. But
This is
so,
always the worst time. I hate when I grow out my hair because
oh
I look
man.
like.
Hey, it's all good. It does not look bad. It does not look bad at all. But
You called me
so,
Reby. That's
you're
not
right.
good.
Reby was very talented.
I did,
She was the most
okay.
down to earth of the sisters.
Well, I mean,
Janet's okay, but
I'm not talking about her talent. I'm talking about
oh,
the
okay,
hair.
oh, okay, right. But okay. So back to this weekend series. Very disappointing. Um, game one and game three, which was played today. Those games, they didn't like. It seems like they didn't lose them. They just the other team just was a little bit better. You know what I mean? In that game one, Rodon came out six Ks in a row. Like he was dealing, you know what I mean? And for it to come down to that last inning, it's just like just one run, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then, obviously we got blown out in that second game. Um, that is what it is. Garrett Cole was just
Yeah.
lights out for the
Yeah.
Yankees, like vintage stuff. So it was just like, all right, what does T Nick say? Everybody's got a birthday, and it was Garrett Cole's birthday because he mowed us down in
Mhm.
that game too. And today was like you just hope that they could salvage and pull one out, and it was just a heartbreaker to have to come from behind.
Mhm.
They kept fighting. They kept battling. Johan Moncada has been instrumental over these past couple of weeks, and the numbers don't necessarily show it, but he's just taking like some really long at bats.
Mhm.
Just kind of like grinding that pitcher down a little bit to set up a guy like Abreu. You know what I mean? And he did that today, and then Abreu came up and sent one deep. So
Mhm.
they kept fighting there's some good things. I mean, that Yankees pitching staff is just, I mean, they're just phenomenal. I mean, not to mention the hitting, of course, you know what I mean? But you know, their pitching staff was just a little bit better. Besides that game too, their pitching staff was just a little bit better than ours. Questionable move by Tony today in keeping
Bummer.
keeping Bummer out there instead of putting, you know, your closer in the ninth. Tony's philosophy is I don't put Hendricks in the ninth unless we're winning. You know,
And I saw where Steve Stone even said that he's sure that Liam Hendricks would have preferred a clean inning because
absolutely
he came in there when there was a mess. You know, it was unfortunate that what loaded the bases was that little itty bitty ground ball by Tyler Wade that I think it's Tyler Wade.
Right.
He was able to read out.
Yeah. Right. And it was just perfect. Like,
yeah.
You know, Magical could get to it, but it was just there's no way to get him at first. You know, so that was tough. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a gamble down the stretch. You know, overall, you know, there's been obviously a lot of criticism of Tony recently with everything. Yeah, a lot of it I agree with. Tony being Tony. Yeah, a lot of it I agree with some of the criticism, but you know, the record says what it says. The team is playing really well. They are playing discipline, having long at bats. You know, like I mentioned with Moncada and I forgot his name now. Magical takes some long at bats. Magical. So I think that's coaching. You know what I mean? Teaching the players to be patient. Saw some really vintage Abreu. Wasn't a physical play, just a good heads up play. Stopped that run going in home. I think that was in the first game, maybe.
Yeah. Didn't they stop him twice, right? Didn't they get someone out of home twice?
Yeah. So like they're playing good defense, you know, except what's Keuchel kind of tripped himself up here, you know.
Gonna have to rename him like we did Crochet.
Yeah, but the Keuchel, there's too many bad ways I could go. It's like, and I can only think of bad ones, so I don't want to go.
Well, you know, and speaking of Crochet, I think you need to give him his name back because he has like a .77 ERA.
Yeah, he's
pretty lights out. I saw that. I was like, I had to tell Emilio he has to get his name back.
Yeah, I was funny. Somehow I was looking at one of his stats, and I was walking in Meyer thinking about it. I was like, all right, I gotta tell Christian he gets his name back, like, because he's, you know, he's been lights out, and Evan Marshall's starting to struggle a little bit. You know, but he was good. I think that was Friday night or one night, yeah. But overall, I don't have anything bad to say about the pitching staff. I mean, yeah, I could say like, well, maybe if Tony had done this, but that's always gonna be like that. And every game in any game, if he gets it right, he's Tony La Russa. If he doesn't, he's an old man, doesn't know what he's doing. So he, you know, and I get that. So, you know. But like Tim, and I'm gonna wrap this up. I know I'm being a little gabby here, but Tim, you know, bringing up the issue of the BABIP and like knowing and predicting like they've got to drop off, like they can't keep this up. They're playing at such a high level, it's gonna drop off, and it happened this week. I mean, you know, they dropped one to Minnesota, but still won the series, and then you know. Just you know, it was a setup for like the big weekend series in New York, and they just couldn't get it done. But hey, we got a nice like 7-game or 7-day homestand. So it's time to, you know.
it's not like the greatest of opponents, St. Louis and Baltimore. So
Exactly. So this it's time to beat up on some, time to bully some of these guys in your own park. Get your groove back. You know what I mean?
yeah. Now
Hopefully some
St.
guys
Louis
get
can
healthy.
hit, so they are in first place. They're okay, but the Sox should be able to handle them.
Yeah, I feel confident about the Sox going home.
Hmm.
If they were going, if we were looking at them playing in St. Louis on like Tuesday, I'd be a little worried. Like, man, this is, but yeah. So if maybe we can check in on the Cubs that they're playing right now.
Yeah, we got it's bottom of the seventh, one out. No, nobody out. Sorry.
Well,
Cardinals have runners on first and second. Adam Wainwright is up to bat. He's pitched a really. I mean, both Zach Davies pitched well. He's not in the
Davies is
game
doing well.
anymore.
He did well.
But for where Zach Davies, where he was at one point, to do this
Hmm.
against your
Hmm.
rival,
Yeah.
pretty good. So and Wainwright, like, he's turning back the clock or something. I think he usually does decent against the Cubs anyway. So, and then it's Sunday Night Baseball. So
It's a big stage.
yeah, so it's no score right now, but they are definitely threatening with. And I'm not sold on this pitcher that's in the game for the Cubs, Tapera.
Okay, so tell me about him. I'm not that
You know
familiar
what?
with
The bullpen has been excellent. So,
Yes.
but there's
So
just
that's
something
I
about
don't know this
whenever I
name.
see him, and then the numbers may not even say this, but whenever I see him, it seems to be something bad happens.
Hmm.
But overall, the bullpen's been really good. That's they've been, in this stretch that the Cubs have with a lot of winning. It's been that bullpen that's been really good. So I kind of like how you said you're not going to complain about the pitching. I won't, but Tapera is one of the people that I'm the least sure about that comes out of the bullpen. But you can't use up um Chafin and all those other people.
Right. Right. Did you see his shirt today? Something like
No.
failed starter or something like that. Yes. They all had these shirts on like today. The Cubs, like,
Uh,
some a different adjective or something for them or whatever. But
and then I think Tapera just made a bad play. So see, that's
I think I'm on some sort of delay here.
okay. Well,
Yeah, that was a.
I wonder if his foot's on the base though. Isn't his foot on the base?
Did he slide into the tag and then pass it?
But if the runners, I don't understand why it's not a force out if it was a bunt and the runners were on first and second. Let's see. He caught it. His foot looks well. There must be a view that we can't see. And I think.
So they're saying he didn't catch it while his foot was on the bag.
It has to be that.
Right.
But I don't know if they're going to review it. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't.
Oh, it was on. It was on. That's
they're not reviewing it. His bases loaded with nobody else. So something must have happened that I don't know about. I don't know.
Like the person who always knows is the player.
Right.
Bodie knows.
So he must. Clearly it just looked like he was on it, but he wasn't.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. Well, so let's take a look at the skinny.
Okay.
And we're going to get our baseball expert in here. Mr. Tim Gronholm is on standby. I know he's watching his Cubs right now.
Me and this skinny, I always there we go.
I mean, both angles, it looked like his foot was on the bag, but the way he reached to try to tag him is almost like he was like, my foot wasn't on the bag, so let me try to get the tag.
Yeah, so it must not have been. It just
what I mean? Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the skinny here. What we've seen and what we have seen. The
So
Cubs. Go ahead. I'll let you
well,
take this
like
one.
just like
I like a lot of green. I like a lot of
yes,
green.
that one little yellow because we don't know what's gonna happen with this
We don't know
game,
what's going
but
to happen.
but they did what I said they needed to do against Washington, so that's good. Win that series, so 3 out of 4. And even the game they lost was 1 run, hard fought, uh, timely hitting and everything like that. They blew out the blowout game against St. Louis, so you kind of knew it was coming with they're not going to score much next. But that was a great game by Adbert Alzolay. He was
Alizé, I think it's pronounced.
No, it's
I know.
So he did really well. So that was good, and they actually allowed him to pitch long. I've been critical of that. I felt as though they always pulled him too soon, but they actually let him pitch, and he did well. I mean, it was just some bad luck, but he did pitch well. So overall, it'll be nice if it could be 5-2. It's going to look way better than 4-3, but we'll see. But
That's
overall, they've had a pretty good run, so that's good to see.
Cubs still in this thing, no doubt. It's just a matter of the timeline. What are they going to do?
Yeah,
they're going to keep the band together.
And Hoyer said they had reports where he said that some of what he's been seeing is making him optimistic that maybe be making moves to add something
there. Because isn't that easier than dismantling? And you're not like that far off.
Exactly.
But hey.
And you're not going to get, Zach Davies will pitch well today, but you didn't even get what you should have for Yu Darvish. Okay. So number one. Right. And I know Chris Bryant has been really, really good this year, but who wants a single or double A pitcher? And they were even talking about it during the Fox broadcast yesterday, like about, no Cubs fan is ready for a 3-4 year rebuild. There's no need to do it like that. No. There's other teams that have kind of restructured themselves, but they didn't have to tear it all down. And you have these pieces here, so do something with these pieces.
Absolutely, so, I agree. I agree.
Okay, all right.
Oh, and
we haven't seen a skinny like this for the Sox.
The tape. First series loss. No, I'm sorry. First sweep. First time they've been swept. First time they've lost 3 in a row this season. It had to happen, and hopefully this is just more of an anomaly than like some sort of crash landing. In Minnesota, we came in there and exploded. I love that, we got the sweep in Chicago with them the previous week and then got to go into Minnesota and really do some damage. There, it was having batting practice out there. Obviously, that was the game with my man Jermaine Mercedes where he unloaded on a 3-0 meatball
from a position player.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take it deep.
That's my thing against the respecting the game. Okay, I don't care about that part, but if you were gonna say it with if there was an actual pitcher in there.
Exactly.
You stop respecting the game and caring when you put this position player in the pitch.
Exactly.
So why Minnesota people even were mad? Like, you didn't care. You put in a position player.
Exactly. So why should you? Yeah. What's run? Let my dude get his blast off.
As soon as you did that, no one cared anymore. So it's whatever.
And I'm tired of it. I don't like it. I don't like this throw the position player out there.
Me either. Like
that's really not fair to the fans. Like, you're losing, but still play. Yeah. I still spent money on a ticket. You know what I mean? Still play.
And some fans maybe they find it funny because if you see an Anthony Rizzo, like unless it's one of your major stars where it might be like ah ha ha ha, but once you're a ha ha ha, this is funny, then all those other unwritten rules go out the window.
Exactly.
I can swing on a 3-0 pitch. I can steal a base when I'm up by 12 runs. Like you don't care. No one should care.
You know, baseball is one of the most, superstitious sport, if not the most superstitious, and all of these rules and unwritten rules of pretty much any sport. And growing up watching baseball, you just become accustomed to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, he got hit, so one of these guys is going to get hit, and then that's it. You know, and then it ends. One, you hit this guy, then he gets hit, and then that's it.
Right. That is
don't try to hit the next guy now.
Right.
You know what
that's
I mean?
Supposed to be the end of it.
That's supposed to be the end. And it's just like, all right, I don't really have a problem with it. Like, I don't have a problem. And normally, if there was an actual pitcher out there who had to go out there when it was, I think maybe like 13 or 14 to whatever, to 4 at the time, like, yeah, okay, I can see that. Don't show him up.
Right.
He's already in a terrible situation getting thrown out there with the score like this, right? So don't. But of course, he wouldn't have thrown a 40-mile-an-hour meatball.
Exactly.
Either.
Right.
You know what I mean? He might have struck him out. Who knows? But hey, you throw the white flag in and start doing load management like this is the NBA. Well, then all right, we're going deep.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, that's the game you wanted to play. So
yeah. But La Russa, his brain is just kind of on automatic, and he goes on what he's used to saying and doing, and then it's like, oh, I have to change that. Like, oh, I could have pulled that runner. I don't know this stuff. I've never done this before. Like, oh, it's different now. They're putting position players in. I guess so. You know what I mean? It's like he's just on automatic, and he's saying all of the things that would have been right to say 20, 30 years ago. Right. But now it's kind of like, oh, now he sounds like the old man who's just not with it anymore. I mean, which he kind of is, but
right. Yeah. I mean, he still obviously knows how to manage, but he does still need to learn to let go, and it's going to be a process. And I think that's why his players are like, oh, it's okay to disagree. Like, they know, they like, look, that's
what's our grandpa.
Right. That's cranky Uncle Tony.
Yeah.
And, they even, I think Tim Anderson was saying, he's like our dad, he's going to get mad at us, but sometimes we're still just going to do what we feel like doing.
Kids, sometimes we're going to be bad kids.
Right. And then Tony said, well, everyone would love a bad kid like Tim Anderson. And so, so they
TA is not the type to run a load of bull to protect somebody. So, like, if he says that they're good.
Yeah, that's there. And then the thing is, like, people were so upset, but, Tony La Russa is not getting fired. So.
No, not this season anyway.
And Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't. Okay, Tepera, you showed me. Got out of that inning. But anyway, and Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't care about all the hand wringing and all the people who are upset about Tony La Russa and his old ways. He knew his man was old when he got him.
Exactly, and he sat back while Jerry Krause destroyed his basketball team. But anyway, so let's keep it moving and bring in our baseball expert. I think he's got a new metric, a Sabra metric to teach us. Perhaps let's get Mr. Tim Gronholm and in here. Tim.
Hey, what's going on, Emilio? Kristen, how you doing?
Fine, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Of course.
And yeah, Kristen, your guy Tepera got us out of that jam. So
I know. He says he said keep talking about me.
He heard they tuned in right now. You didn't know that.
I know.
We didn't play it in the dugout right now. They heard you. He's like, that damn Reby Jackson is out there talking bad about me. I'll show her. Who does she think she is?
I can tell you, for guys, it's easy. We got a bad hair day. We just put on a hat. It's just
always
pull the hat on. You're good to go.
I started to wear my hat, but I was like, whatever. This is how it's going to be during the summer. So everybody needs to get used to it anyway.
That's right. Tell him, Reby.
I do have a new stat for you though, but I wanted to hit you with the batting average on balls in play update again a little bit real quick. So that's BABIP, remember, and that accounts for luck. The White Sox currently lead Major League Baseball with a 320 BABIP. In other words, they're the luckiest team in Major League Baseball when the ball is in play. That is not good because, as you were alluding to earlier, they're going to drop. They're probably look for another little swoon here in the offensive numbers. Nothing crazy because 300 is league average. The Cubs are right at 299, so you can sort of expect this from the Cubs. The Cubs are going to cub. Sometimes they're going to have 12 runs. Sometimes they're going to get no runs from a 45-year-old Adam Wainwright or however old that guy is. But the stat I really wanted to hit you with is strikeout percentage. I heard this, so you'll see it as K and then a percent sign if you're looking for it. It's essentially how many outs are strikeouts. Like how many times does a batter strike out? When I think of the most dominant pitching performances that I can remember watching in my lifetime, I've got Doc Gooden in 1985. Do you remember that, E? You probably do. I don't know how, Kirsten, you remember
that Mets?
Oh, bless your heart, saying you don't know how old I am.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I think,
Good job. You already know.
You err on the side of caution, brother. You did right.
I remember.
But she knows though that those Mets teams for sure.
Yeah,
she had a Doc Gooden poster on her. All right, I went too far.
Too far. I just remember that curveball and how nasty dominant he was. Right in '85, it was just like you couldn't even hit him. He was striking out guys left and right. He struck out 268 that year. So the amount of his strikeout percentage in that year was 25.2%. Okay, so 1 out of every 4 batters he faced, he struck out. It's as simple as that. For his career, he was about a 19.6% strikeout percentage guy. So which is what we knew from Doc Gooden. He was Dr. K, right? He struck guys out. And the second one is Pedro Martinez in 1999 with the Boston Red Sox, my beloved Red Sox. He was almost unhittable. If you remember, that was the year the All-Star game was in Fenway, and Pedro struck out Bonds, Sosa, McGuire back-to-back in the All-Star game. I don't know if you remember that. But Pedro was dominant. All right? 27.7% for his career. Strikeout percentage. In 1999, 37.5%. That's insane numbers. Okay? So, Doc Gooden, 25.2%. One of the most dominated pitching performances I've ever remember in 1985. The Major League Baseball average right now is 24.2%. That means Kristen's guy, Ryan Tepera, that's a lot. It's out of control.
That's the league average.
League average. So a guy like Ryan Tepera.
Yeah, and how many no hitters do we have already? Like 6 or 7?
6.
Okay.
6.
Okay, you're all right.
And so you're going to see because baseball has become a 3-outcome sport: a strikeout, a walk, or a home run. That's what these guys are going for when they get up to the plate, and it makes for really bad baseball because you end up with either super high-scoring games or guys striking out. A lot of dead time that we know younger fans don't appreciate. So the game is going to start to skew to older and older people if it hasn't done so already. The White Sox have a pitching staff that's 6th in Major League Baseball at a 27.1% strikeout percentage. That's obviously good. You got to be, they're striking out higher than a league average. The Cubs are just under league average at 23.6%. They're 19th in baseball, which is just below average. So both of those stats point to what we know these teams are. The White Sox have been pretty dominant starting pitching, right? Rodon, Saturday night, you were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
And obviously the no-hitter he threw. That was unbelievable. But you could go down the list. The Sox have been very dominant pitching-wise. The Cubs, you got guys like Davies and the professor Kyle Hendricks, who will never turn his back to a hitter. Those guys aren't striking anybody out. You've seen it, right?
I've seen it now because I looked for it. Yeah.
I looked for it.
Yeah. I was like,
I'm
wow,
telling you,
he's right.
He's a badass, and he doesn't say nothing to nobody. He just goes out there as a straight killer. It's hysterical. So here's my question to you. Which baseball player on either side of town do you think leads Major League Baseball with the lowest strikeout percentage? Which hitter? So which hitter strikes out the least? Either team.
Does Matt Duffy strike out a lot?
I stumped him. Y'all are stumped.
Is it
Matt
Madrigal?
Nick Madrigal is correct.
Oh, okay.
I know that's why I brought him up earlier.
Because he usually gets a hit with 2 strikes.
Yeah, with 2 strikes. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. What is Benetti calling him? Nicky 2 strikes?
Yeah.
Nicky 2 strikes. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good nickname for him. He leads Major League Baseball. He only strikes out 6% of the time. So that kid's just going to put the ball in play. He's fun to watch. I like him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do too. Yes.
Which leads me to another question. Would you rather have long-term Nick Madrigal or Kristen's guy, Nico Horner, at second base?
Long-term?
Yep.
I'd have Nico.
I would take Nico long-term.
That's interesting. I would too. It depends on the team you're building too, though, right?
I mean, yes, I kind of like Nico's he's just a little bit more versatile, as we know.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he's like more of like in the long run, he would be the guy that I would want. But Nicky 2 strikes works well on this team. Like you said, it depends on what team. So he's working well on this team. Now, him on some other teams, is not. I don't think he would be Nicky's 2 strikes. Maybe. Yeah.
Now, if he 2 strikes, he would work well on the Cubs because they strike.
Right.
In my mind, they strike out a lot. I could be wrong. But this Nico that we're seeing right now, based on your analytics, Tim, I'm sure eventually he'll go down. He'll come back down to earth. But this Nico right now, if we get mostly like this, I would take him.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd rather have Nico over Madrigal as well long term, just for all the reasons that you just both pointed out. Now, I will say that Nico's BABIP right now is 404. That's not good. That means those numbers are gonna dip. He's hitting 343. Yeah, I love him,
but
those numbers are gonna go down.
2 strikes.
Yeah, he will. Hopefully, he won't come down as far as like a Bodie or something, but he's gonna drop.
You really don't like Bodie, do you?
Well, I don't dislike him, but I don't like him as a starter. Maybe that's what it is. I
think they've flirted. I feel like the Cubs have flirted so much with David Bodie to try to make Chris Bryant not jealous, but kind of like, hey, we got a guy here already, right? You know what I mean? Kind of, and sometimes Bodie's there to hit, have a big hit and be like, see, look, we got Bodie. And then it's like, other times it's like, no, but I don't know.
And then
I feel like he'd have a bad taste.
You're like, see, we got Bodie. And you're rolling eyes. But Bodie has made some great, he's had great moments, even during this stretch when I talk about him. For me, he's more of a, I don't think he's a starter, but right now he has to be because everybody's hurt. So Chris Bryant doesn't play third base anymore.
I don't think he's a starter on a World Series team.
No. Right.
You know what I mean? He's a starter, but not on a World Series winning team. You know what I mean? You had Chris Bryant at third. You know what I mean?
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Tim, do you think Chris Bryant's ever going to go to third again, Tim? Do you think he's ever going back to third?
You know what? I remember reading something about him a long time ago when he first came up. He's a tall guy. He's like 6'5", I want to say. And there was a stat Tim Salmon. Do you know Tim Salmon? Do you remember him? He
Mm-hmm.
used to play third base for the Angels back in like the 90s and early 2000s. He was 6'3", and they tried to compare Tim Salmon to Chris Bryant because Chris Bryant is 6'5", and Tim Salmon's the only like third baseman that's over like 6'1", I think, that had any sort of like decent career. And I don't. It was a really bizarre sort of stat that I remember seeing that. And so the analysis essentially was the prospect analysis was that look for Bryant to move to the outfield for his long-term career. So that's a long-winded way of saying probably no. I see him. He's a decent defensive third baseman, and he's a decent defensive outfielder. But I like that they can move him around a little bit.
Yeah.
What did you think of the job that A-Rod did playing at third? He's over 6 feet. He's got to be 6'3", 6'4", right? I mean, I know that wasn't his natural, and he was a shortstop actually that had to move over to play with
a shortstop.
Yeah.
A-Rod was exactly 6'3".
I mean, now it is A-Rod. This is A-Rod, just like this is Chris Bryant. These are very extraordinary players. These aren't, Tim Salmon.
It's abnormal to be that tall and play that position. Mm-hmm. That's really what I'm trying to get at. And
it is true. That is true.
And
he does look like very lanky, even when he would dive for a ball.
Yeah.
So tall, it's going to take him longer to get down to it. So,
but then he's so long that he doesn't have to be as fast.
That's true.
Because once he falls out, it's like, oh, I'm taking up all of this space. Like, I don't even have to dive. I just tip over.
And that reminds me of the most beautiful play in the history of baseball, November 2nd, 2016, when Chris Bryant picked up a ball and threw it over Anthony Rizzo. I remember watching the game and almost having a heart attack because I knew that grass was wet. And when he planted that foot, he slipped. Exactly. And all the years of being around baseball and coaching it and watching it, I was convinced that ball was going right over Rizzo's head. When I saw his plant foot slip, I thought the ball was going to go up. And so
I was, that made me nervous. First, when the guy, it wasn't Lindor, I don't know who it was on Cleveland, but he hit kind of like a chopper, and I was like, I thought it was going to take like a nasty hop out of that, out of the infield, and then Bryant, just like you said, he had it. And it looked like he was just so excited, and he
started laughing when he slipped.
Yeah, like I thought, and you thought he was going to sail it over. I thought maybe he wouldn't have enough on it because he didn't plant right or whatever, and that he might skip it to Rizzo or whatever. But I mean, and it was so fast. But I remember that slip and just like, oh, okay. But then Rizzo was just like right in there, like not worried when so I was like, okay, they got it.
It would have been so Cubs like.
Oh,
that's what the thing was. He was like, oh yeah, okay, so this is real
that
Cubs like when he flipped.
Tragic.
He
slipped.
That was so. That's what
going back to that. I remember when we had the TV trays out, and me and my brother, we put up the TV trays because we were getting ready to celebrate. And then someone got on base, and I grabbed that TV tray and set it right back up. I was like, see, I'm getting ready to jinx this. Let me go ahead.
Be all prepared.
Right, I was trying to be prepared.
Don't be prepared to be happy.
No.
Who do you think you are?
I am a Cubs man. Prepare for heartbreak.
Man, I mean, that game was full of
you can't prepare.
That game was up and down. It was like, they're going to do it. It's like, they're cubbing it up. They're going to do it. They're cubbing it up. And it was just back and forth and back. And then the rain came. Oh, my God.
And then the one thing that Jason Hayward's been good for in his Cub career.
Come on, baby.
He comforted
we gotta stick together.
He comforted everyone who was crying, and then they came back.
Good for them.
I heard a really interesting interview with Theo Epstein. I heard an interview with Theo Epstein this week, and Theo was talking about this strikeout percentage too. That's where I sort of it made me take a closer look. But he was talking about what he saw in the clubhouse during the rain delay, and just did a really good job of describing like what you normally would see during a rain delay, which is players would be on their phones, just like everybody else would do when you have downtime. You know what I mean? They're checking their phones, they're calling whoever, and he walked past the clubhouse and it was totally empty. And we've heard this story a whole bunch of times, right? Where they're all, and then he looks in this really tiny gym that they had in Cleveland, and all the players were crammed in there. And I was like, Hayward was worth every single penny of that $100 million contract. Whatever you gave him, it was worth every penny there.
He pulled the pulpit out and just went to work in a little storefront church. Like, yeah, man. Yeah. Ultimately, if that's what all of that money was for, don't get me wrong, he's had some very good, especially defensive moments. You know what I mean? But like, if it all came down to it, would you pay him again to come here? Yeah. Even if it's just for that speech.
Yes, 100%.
Like, and if you could go back, yeah. Come here to make this speech. Yeah.
This makes me think about a fictional baseball speech, as well as what the White Sox, I think, need to do. Okay, so Kristen, please pardon the crudeness of this, but I'm sure you all have seen Major League, right? I know you were talking about hats for bats earlier, right? Yes. Every time they win, they peel a section. Do you remember that?
Yeah, off of the owners.
I think the White Sox need to do this with a Tony La Russa cutout in the dugout, in a clubhouse. They just need to recognize that his old man shtick can galvanize the whole team. It's Tony versus everybody. So just lean into it. Like, make him the villain.
Well, who wants to see that? I don't think that. I think every piece needs to have him covered up. Everybody's trying to see what's under there.
Are we going to do the same thing with the peeling of the uniform?
I mean, they put that lady's body on Tony.
Right, like his head the White Sox. The White Sox, with an historic slide, lost 20 of the last 23.
Right, every time you peel, they're like, "Oh,
everybody's throwing up."
I'm going a lot of people,
dehydrated and like, yeah. I mean, I thought you were gonna say like, Jerry Reinsdorf, since he's the culprit.
Oh, yeah, because the lady was the owner. Yeah. But the difference is the coach was with
Lou Brown, Coach Lou Brown.
Yeah, he was great. So, what do you think the White Sox playoff chances are as of today after their sweep of the Yankees? What do you think their chances to actually make the playoffs? What percent chance do you think? Fangraphs is the site that does really good work with a lot of stats. So what do you think they're giving the White Sox chance?
52.
52. All right, Kristen. Emilio?
I'm still going to say pretty high. It's a 3-game slide in New York against that. And I don't know, do they weigh the wins and losses, kind of the way they do in college football?
Yes.
You know what I mean? 3 losses to the Yankees is not the same as 3 losses to the Orioles or to the Tigers.
Yeah, so, strength of schedule would be considered in there, as well as what they have in what's left on their schedule. So,
especially who they've got. I mean, they do have St. Louis coming in, Baltimore. I'm still going to say up there around 65, 66%.
Oh, well, you're going to be happily surprised. They have them at 76.1%.
Okay.
So 3 out of 4 seasons.
So nothing really changed much, because I feel like last time we talked to you, which was a couple weeks ago, but I think it was around there.
It was, yeah. It hadn't moved. It was about 74%, 74.9% 2 weeks ago. So it's actually up a little bit from a couple weeks ago. What about the Cubs? Well, go ahead. What were you going to say about the Sox there?
No, I was just going to say, like, also, like, not counting the blowout, but like they were in the game 1 and 3. You know what I mean? That wasn't like I mentioned earlier to Chris, and it was like they didn't lose the game. They just got beat right at the end by 1 run. They ran out of time almost more than anything. You know what I mean? But continue, please.
Yeah. Maybe Kristen's right. Maybe we get the cutout of La Russa and put on like winter clothes for him on top so he can get ready for November and October.
There you go.
Yeah.
But are we still peeling them off to reveal?
I don't think we need to peel it. I don't know. We don't want to be peeling anything off. We need to be putting more clothes on him.
If he's already like in a bathing suit, you're putting on pieces to cover him up every time you win.
Oh, that would be definitely motivating. Put those pieces
there
on
you
him.
go. It's
so
like
now
him
he's like, we gotta hurry up and win so we can cover him up.
With the North Face and the Columbia.
Yeah, the North Face.
Yeah.
But the managers, I get into this argument all the time, and specifically as a high school baseball coach, I can tell you that it's been my experience that coaching matters more the younger the players are, right? These are professional guys. If let them go out there and do their thing. And I loved the Urminator going up there and tattooing that ball like you all were talking about. LaRussa, he's not going to have a very large impact on wins and losses. He's just not. Unless you do something stupid like Joe Madden did in 2016 with how he used Chapman, and we just sort of got lucky and won the World Series despite him. But so I think the manager impact is not as high as one would think. So LaRussa, I think, is a good galvanizing force for the team. Let them be like he can be the old school guy, and the new school can just have their fun with the game. And I think it's actually good for the team. And the problem is it's the Chicago narrative, right? So we're going to be hearing about this. Like Kristen was saying, we're going to be hearing about this all summer long. It's good. It's already old, I think, but it's going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
That's
he's under a spotlight. Every little thing is going to be like, oh, and again, like I said to Chris, I'm just looking at the results. So
yeah, right.
Hey, say what you want about him. I'll say what I want about him, but the results are there. I think he's done a hell of a job of handling this pitching staff, especially that bullpen. The way he's kind of like made it like his regiment. Like, okay, this is who I bring in. This is who I bring in. But Kristen, you were about to say something.
I was just, like Tim just said, even the media. Well, number one, everyone needs something to talk about on the sports or a podcast. So you are going to just beat that dead horse. And so for the players, it's like, all right, we just want to move on. Stop asking us about this. Okay. Yeah. It's over for us. He hit it. The game's over. We're going to hit it again if we get the opportunity. So let's stop talking about it. We've already told you we're not stopping what we do.
Mm-hmm. And this is just that media. This is just the media. And all athletes have to deal, think about, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, without social media, like, this constant pumping of information and stories and what's the gossip? What's the hype?
You gotta have something to talk about.
And it's entertainment. And it's entertainment. You know what I mean? So, but yes, it gets old for the players more so than for us, but
if I would have told you on May 23rd the White Sox would have a 1.5 lead in the American League Central, would you be pleased?
Yeah.
I almost thought it would have been more.
Because that's where we're
at. I'd be pleased. Like, would I hope it was more, like you said, Kristen? Yes. But my expectations aren't over the moon on every number, on every hey, how many games do I hope they win the division by? I don't care. It could be one game, as long as they win it. They don't have to be 13 games above. I mean, I'd rather them be run away with it so I can not have heart attacks in September and going in October, But
what's shocking is that Cleveland's in second. Who would have thought that? I think most people
I was just gonna say now.
I think most people had Minnesota, yeah.
Most people have Minnesota, but Minnesota is just taking a hell of a dive, right? Which Minnesota
is 9.5 games out.
So that happened, but Cleveland competing in the AL Central will never be a surprise. That's like St. Louis competing in the NL Central. Who would have thought St. Louis? Well, everybody. Because St. Louis is always right there lurking. The Cleveland Indians are always right there lurking. If they're not leading, they're in second. And in a very off year, they finish third. Never last. They never finish last.
Detroit's
and that's
never
just
gonna get it together, are they?
no Lions,
No.
the Tigers, nothing.
Pistons.
Pistons,
Just
Oh,
why
the
is
Pistons are terrible.
why does Detroit
Terrible.
still have a team?
terrible,
I was like, you guys are just never gonna get it right.
man.
Hey,
I mean, I
if
know
Ben
they
Wallace
used
can
to
get in
be
the Hall of
okay.
Fame, there's hope for all of us.
Well,
That's the way I
Whoa,
see it.
yeah. I mean, but I've kind of always assumed, or have assumed for a while, like, ain't that. I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant. Say it's not that hard to get in the Basketball Hall of Fame, but they let a lot of people in. That you're like, really?
yeah,
You
Chris
ain't going
Webber's
to?
getting in, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm like, really? You got in? I think Grant Hill is in too, isn't he? I'm like,
Mitch Richmond.
Yeah.
now Mitch
I mean,
Richmond.
I love Run
Mitch
CMC.
Richmond. I'm not mad at. I'm not mad at Mitch Richmond being his issue was he played in Sacramento all of those years. It was different back then. You stayed with your team more than not. But Mitch Richmond was always a hell of a baller, I believe. Always got overlooked because he was never in the playoffs with Sacramento. But there's a couple. I mean, Robert Horry going in. I think Rudy T called for him. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
I guess he did.
He's hit some big shots in a lot of finals. 7 rings.
Is it 7? I knew he had at least 6.
7 rings.
So
I'm pretty sure it's 7. Yeah, on 3 different teams. Excuse me.
I mean, forget about LeBron and Michael. Shouldn't it be Robert Horry? He's got 7 rings. Let's go.
Definitely not. Well, then we still got to say Russell then. I mean, I'd rather go all the way back then.
So so then it should be Russell and Horry, right? Then you go to Mike and the rest.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think Robert Horry. So he got 2 in Houston. He got 3 in LA.
Lakers.
That's 5. And then 2 in San Antonio. I'm pretty sure he got 2 in San Antonio. Because I remember him winning and him holding up like, I got 7. Like,
hey, good for him. I don't know if that makes you a Hall of Famer, but
I don't. It's kind of us kind of like, oh, you right place at the right time, ass. But
their Hall of Fame is definitely easier than baseball.
I mean, right?
Baseball's a mess.
Possible. I feel like this is all because of like Pete Rose in the steroid era. Like it's just all straight.
Baseball needs. They need to recognize that it's not a moral place.
Compass. No.
They've got major racists in those halls of fame for years and years and years. Yes. If you're gonna let Ty Cobb sit in there, then I think Pete Rose betting on his own team to win is okay.
Seriously.
And people profited and loved every bit of the steroid era. And that's a part of baseball.
Major League Baseball knew what was going on.
Yeah. And then for people to act like people still aren't roiding up. They just have more sophisticated.
Yeah. It changes. They flip it. They know how to stay a little bit slimmer with it. And
and who cares? I don't care.
I don't either.
If Barry Bonds wants to roid up because he's in a job that his physical condition is a huge part of his performance, then I don't care. I can look at him and say he needed to roid up to hit 700 how many home runs, whereas Hank Aaron did not. Like,
I mean, if he wants to wear a size 8.5 hat, that's fine.
My baseball memories. Some of my greatest baseball memories had to do with the Royals, so I've never cared.
I think
personal choice. And what people used to talk about was the competition. Well, you found out there were just as many pitchers as there were hitters, so it was a level playing field.
Because you know who else got real bulky? Roger Clemens,
Andy Pettit.
Yeah.
These guys got a little hulky too.
And then there were people who never even gained a lot of weight, like a Luis Gonzalez, who stayed nice and slim. But so there were people, everyone that
Rafael Palmeiro.
never really got huge, and they were using. So it was
Gary Matthews Jr. I think he was one of them.
I played against Gary Matthews Jr. when we were in high school.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
What team was he on?
Gordon Tech.
I didn't know he played for Gordon Tech. Wow.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
His dad was in the stands. It was cool.
There were rumblings about Ken Griffey Jr. at the end, and that's how he started ripping muscles off of bones.
I mean,
to try to keep up with, up what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a little deep dive for you to do before the next time we talk. I want one of my friends, who's a Yankee fan, has tried to get my White Sox fans on this for years. Take a look at the rookie card of Frank Thomas, and then watch the progression of how he looks over the years, and tell me not all his hats are snapbacks. He ain't got no fitted hats either. Because that man,
they're like elastic. Like, what is this?
And who else got big like that? Jim Thome.
Oh yeah.
But then they'll hide behind things like with Jim Thome, and this is where baseball coverage. I try to push some of my students this way that are big baseball fans into like the racial coverage of baseball. They'll call Jim Thome country strong, right? Or they'll use words like that. There's the way that some of the media has reported some of the racial components around the steroid era is very intriguing and something that I'm waiting for someone to write a book on, but I don't have the time to do that. But I think like guys like Jim Thome, Roger Clemens, Andy Pettit, just sort of like slap on the wrist, sort of. And Thome
McGuire,
has got this squeaky clean image. McGuire, right?
Yeah. Thome has so everybody loved Jim Thome, so they kind of like, people say that Albert Pujols is a guaranteed Hall of Famer, and there's no way he ever used anything. How do you know?
Yeah, you just don't. Yeah. But that's where baseball gets it wrong. We're grown adults, and if you're going to a baseball Hall of Fame, you should be able to say, "Listen, these are the greatest players in the history of the game. This is how they got here, though." Right? I can have two thoughts in my head at the same time. I can realize that Barry Bonds had 73 home runs in whatever year that was, and also know he did it because he took steroids. That's okay. Like, you don't have to leave these people out because, particularly with McGuire and Sosa, those guys, McGuire took creatine and Sosa took androstenedione, both of which supplements were legal in Major League Baseball at the time. They didn't do anything illegal. Baseball later on made them illegal and said that they were steroids. But in 1998, McGuire had it in his locker.
Yeah.
Right.
No. So come on, baseball. Like, what are you really doing? Just make the Hall of Fame be representative of the game over time. That's what it should be. It should be a museum. They just got to get out of the morality business because it makes them look really, really pretentious and shady.
Very, very old. It's such a old institution. Baseball is. I mean, you talking about old families and money and
Tony La Russa and his boys.
And the voters are still very and I'm not asking for anyone, but the voters won't retire, so it's still those old. Like, they ruined the game. Steroids did not ruin your game. It did not ruin the game. 98, it helped.
It galvanized that home run chase in 98. That pulled everybody's watching baseball then. Especially after that strike in 94. Oh, should have won a World Series that year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we should bring back some steroids so we can get this K percentage back to a normal spot.
Yes.
Yeah. So. What is it? What's happening with this? So
what they're actually doing is
how is it up so high? Is it the ball? Did they change the ball again?
It's because everyone's trying to take an uppercut swing. It's launch angle, essentially. I'm sure you've heard that. Everything is launch angle. So they're teaching the swings are teaching like an uppercut swing. And so when you have an uppercut swing, your swing plane obviously is like going that way, right? Instead of sort of a level swing that we were taught when we were kids. So these uppercut swings, you'll see guys with elevated fastballs striking those guys out because they can't that swing plane can't catch up to that fastball. Right. So that's why you see the guys throwing, like, that's why velocity is such a thing, right? If you can throw 99 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, you're going to be in the bigs, because all you got to do is throw a high fastball and you can get hitters out because they're trying to jack it out of the park. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that baseball is trying to do, and this is another thing that Theo talked in depth about last week, was they're going to move the mound back a foot. They already did it.
Yeah.
They're doing it in minor league baseball as an experiment, I think in like June. I can't remember when he said it was happening. Yeah. To try to get this strikeout percentage down, because they got to, the whole idea, the game is being boring because ball's not getting put in play. So if you move the mound back a foot, obviously the hitters will have like 0.02 of a second longer to make a decision on whether to swing or not. And you're more likely to get balls in play. So take a look at see how that goes in minor league baseball over the summertime. I'm going to be looking to see how it
affects. That's nice. Minor league baseball is coming back, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
And whose bright idea was it to start the launch angle? Like, how did that even become a thing?
That's a great question. I don't really know the answer to that, but
some nerd who was like doesn't play and was like, well, if you launch angle, that's the way,
that voice.
Well, even you see, if you launch the ball like this,
because you hear so much about launch angle, but it just came out of nowhere. So I was like, well, whose idea was it? Like, hey, this is the way to go.
I mean, like that's all of these things come out of nowhere. I can remember like 3 years after the fact, I was like, wait, when the hell did they start saying pitch count so much? And we had been saying it a while, but I'm like, I never said pitch count when we were kids. Like, wait a minute, did we?
And this new one, Tim, you weren't here last week when we were discussing this third time through the order. They talk about that so much on the Cubs broadcast. I just want to punch my screen sometimes. Yes. I'm like, well, the punishment of the third time through the order. What if these pitchers don't try to figure it out? I mean, so now you're not going to have a bullpen worth a darn by the end of the year.
So, what are your thoughts, Tim, on pulling? What's the average? I don't know. It's hard to probably measure this. What is the average innings pitch, maybe for a winning pitcher? Is it still only like 5 innings? There's so many factors, because if his pitch count is up.
We're bringing this out. We didn't have this for you ahead of time, Tim.
Yeah, I know. There's so many, we downplay metrics and say we don't always like them, but then some of them are cool. Some of them make the game a little bit more interesting. I'll say. I hate when they affect how the game is played.
I do too. And so right now you've got the average start is 4.7 innings, 4 2/3.
Okay. See, all right. That's why I brought, because I was wondering, is it really low? Okay,
and that's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
That's insane.
And you know what else? What also probably started that, Tim and Emilio. How now they're all saying, well, wins and losses on a pitcher means nothing. That's not a way to judge a pitcher. So now that's why they don't care if they don't go 5 innings to at least get it. But a pitcher cares about the wins.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is that this
it
starts
affects his money.
Baseball.
What'd you say, Tim?
Right. It starts in youth baseball. It started with with travel sports, really. In my opinion, it starts with travel sports. Travel sports has become like a multi-billion with a B dollar industry. And so, like, I've got students who teaching them remotely this year. They were checking into class from Arizona because they were out there for a showcase, right? They're like checking in from the hotel room, the airport. They're out there, and they're just looking to get that radar gun as high as it can go. And so what that means is you're burning through arms. If you take a whole collective look at this, right, you're burning through young arms a lot more quickly. You also have the most amount of pitchers that there have ever been in Major League Baseball right now, roster spots.
Really?
Right? Like, this is where Tony La Russa and his boys would say, like, back in my day, there was only 8 teams in each league and blah, blah, blah. And every pitcher threw 900 innings.
Right. We only had 3 pitchers on the staff. And right.
Exactly.
Right.
And the reason is because you only needed them to. You only needed that amount.
Yeah.
When you only have 8 teams per league, it weeded out all the other guys that couldn't throw that long. If you blew out your arm in 1955, and you were done. There was no Tommy John. You weren't coming back.
Right.
So I think the youth baseball craze with travel sports has helped baseball in that it's getting these arms that the pitching, I should say, it's helped pitching, not hitting. It's the problem of this 25% strikeout rate. So you get all these kids that can throw as fast as they possibly can, and then either they have Tommy John or they make it through to the bigs. So there's a really great book by Jeff Passan, who's the ESPN baseball guy, called The Arm. I would recommend it to both of you. I think you'd really dig it. He has a whole chapter on how the Cubs pursued John Lester as a free agent. But
interesting.
He talks about it. So I think it's just you got to be careful. Moving the mound back, I think is a start. Hopefully, you get that strike percentage down and get the ball and play more.
Now, do you think moving it back though is that going to make the pitchers go even less, or do you think that will keep the innings down to 4? Or
I don't think that goes. I think we're not going back to that. I think it's going to be less and less innings. Wins will matter less because first off, the baseball union is a good, strong union, so it does take care of those players a lot, and the players want the spots. So I think if anything, you look to expand the rosters and add more pitchers and have less innings for starters.
Hey, once they start this kickoff pitcher thing, when you bring in a lights out guy in the first inning, and then you go to the opener,
and then you get
Tampa Bay does it.
Oh, have they started it? Really?
Oh yeah. They had this guy Ryan Yarborough, who they determined he's like their number 2 starter, and they realized that he's terrible in the first inning, and so essentially, not all the time with them, but they did a couple years ago. They would have openers for him, so he wouldn't face the top 3 guys, and then he'd start the second inning, and he'd pitch like innings 2 through 7 or something. And I think you're going to see a lot more of stuff like that. Especially because baseball is such a analytically driven decision game, which is pretty silly, I think. As much as, like you all said, I think the numbers do help give you context. They shouldn't manage how you make these really important decisions. But that's how Tampa Bay has been able to get to the World Series and things. Like they have great scouting, great young development, but then they also manipulate how they use their pitchers really well. And I think it actually cost them the World Series this past year. Remember, I don't know if you watched, I'm sure you did, Blake Snell, Game 7. That was terrible. That guy, I would have fired that guy in a spot if I was the owner of the race.
Awful.
Awful.
That poor
guy. Look for openers. Yeah. The openers are coming. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. And there's a couple of old guys that are probably going to have to get weeded out before it's league wide. Like, I'm not sure if I'm going to see old man LaRussa go to that science.
Or would you?
Who knows?
I guess you'd only have the opener for certain pitchers. It wouldn't be all 5
like every game, right?
Until you realize that the opener works, and then it's going to be for everybody.
Yeah, then it's going to be for everybody.
So they, like you said, so now they're going to have a 30-man roster because
I'm thinking
out of people.
I'm looking at a guy like Michael Kopech as my opener.
He'd be great.
You know what I mean? And that would be okay. If I got Kopech and then Hendricks, my bookends,
forget it.
That's tough.
I mean,
that's kind of guys. I'm not even in favor of it, but I'm just imagining it. Like right now. Yeah.
Craig Counsell, the manager of Milwaukee, doesn't even call his pitchers. He calls them out-getters. That's where you're at. So I mean, the more analytically, right?
So this is gonna mess with starting pitchers' money, though. Then, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
That's gonna be an issue because you can't even be an opener. Oh, you're not getting any money. You can't even open your games.
Right. You can't open.
You're not gonna get all that money. You
can't come until the second.
Oh no.
Oh no.
You better take this $8 million and
run.
love it. I gotta give Michael Kopech the money because he's gonna start me off.
And he's like, you can't even open, son.
Right. Oh my God. So when
Get out of my office, son.
Like when they had those arbitration hearings, like you don't even open.
Oh
You think you can get the same money as Garrett Cole? You don't open, he opens.
He opens.
I think Adbert's going to have to start bringing a few bottles of Alizé to his contract meetings just to get that cash. How do I? Hey, Adbert, yeah, you better bring the Alizé, otherwise, you're gonna get that money at arbitration.
That is so crazy. This opener. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. Starting pitchers are not gonna like
be
that.
happy.
No, it's gonna happen. Yeah. So that's why the third time through thing comes through too, right? They're just looking at all these stats, and it gets easier the third time you see a pitcher, and the pitcher's tired, so
and wins then it goes down for the fourth time. So it's like if you can make it through that third time, they show some. Because they talk, like I said, they talk about it all the time on the Cubs broadcast. And then they showed a stat about the fourth time through and how it gets better. But
that's because it's a guy that's dealing. If you make it through a fourth time through a lineup, that means you're pitching very well.
That's what they say.
You're mowing them. You're mowing them down. Right, you're Garrett Cole them. But even he only threw, I don't know if he didn't throw. He threw 7. He didn't, they didn't like take him even, straight to a Aroldis or whoever to close. They probably wouldn't have brought Aroldis in at the time, but like.
Look at Rodon. Rodon was straight dealing on Friday. And they pulled him. And when he pulled him, I was stunned because he didn't have 100 pitches. I know the guy's coming off injury and shoulders, but Rodon to me seems like a bulldog type. Like he's going to fight you to take him off that mound.
He looks healthy.
I couldn't believe it.
And if the boy is healthy, let him play. You know
that's
what I mean?
That's what I say too.
They had that those analytics that third time through the order.
Them damn calculator.
Blah.
Oh,
learn
man.
to pitch, people. Just pitch.
Exactly. So Tim, while we got you on here. We'd like to look at the upcoming week and make some mild predictions here. I think we're all trying to watch that out.
Yeah.
I stopped sort of watching it because I can't.
They're in the top of the 10th.
Yeah, Rizzo.
Now he's getting ready to swing for the fences. Now he needs a little fly ball, buddy. He about to swing it. Look at it.
I'm gonna hit a 3-run homer. Like
one man
there's only one man on base. Nope.
And I love Harvey, but he is
of course,
not getting cheated on. If it's low and away, if it's at his eyeballs, he's swinging.
Hard.
That man's got to have like the best obliques of all time.
I mean, because he doesn't hurt himself with
that.
He
does
swing.
have a tight back now, so
okay, all right. Well, there you go. Though.
Look at him swing. Well, okay. Well, you shut me up, Javi.
There we go. That's why I started talking about him. So
right, yeah. Every time I talk about somebody tonight, they be
I was just gonna say, you're like the opposite of a jinx. You just keep talking bad about people. None of them
talk bad about them, and here they come.
To pair dogged him. He got out that inning. Talked about Javi. Yep. He said, "Yeah, I swing for the fences, and look what I did."
And look, over the fences. 3 runs, man.
3 runs. Like, where's my other run?
Right. You see how far I hit the ball? It doesn't. That's like 20 years from now, the metric, you get an extra run if you go over 400 feet. Or if you go over, but by then they'll be hitting balls like 500 feet. Yeah. And so if you go over 500, we give you an extra run. Yeah. We got a new launch angle and we put rockets on the bats.
I love your baseball analyst voice too.
I know. Right.
I think I might have to work that angle.
Did you hear when Steve and Jason Benetti were talking about that? Jason Benetti made comments like the ball is a little lighter, which is why it's been moving more. Steve Stone didn't really agree with it, but he didn't disagree with it. I wonder if that's true.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a thing all last year too, wasn't it?
Well, they were saying they juiced it, right?
Yeah, they were talking about how tightly wound the ball was last year, so it would have more bounce.
That's then they said during, and I had this written down someplace, during spring training, they were talking about, so they changed the ball again, right, from the last year's ball. So what they changed it to this year, maybe it is a little bit lighter. Who knows?
And now they strike out all the time, so they're going to have to change it again.
Right? You know, hey, maybe the ball, not a ball is a problem.
Yeah, because the fans don't want to see.
Let's move the mound back.
Entire game, like we want to see some hits and some runs.
Put the mound behind second base.
I mean, they're going to have.
Here's a little baseball fact. Yeah, right. Here, baseball is so goofy with this ball too. Do you know what they do to the ball before the game? That there's actually an umpire that has to rub mud onto the ball. Do you know this?
No.
They rub the ball with mud, so it's not its.
Yeah, because pitchers don't like it to be all like spanking new and shiny. They like it rough.
Sorry, if I'm the umpire,
I'd heard
hire a mud person. I'm not getting ready to
hire a mud person. I'm your mud guy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be the mud person and umpire.
This is Amelia. He's our mud guy. Hey, I got your balls right here. Hold on.
Like, what? I got call balls and strikes and rub mud.
Here you go.
Just have them go eat those Germinator burgers and then wipe their hands on the balls before they're ready to go.
Oh man, but see, now that is very illegal.
Just had some Germinator sauce on the bill of your cap.
Like my boy Eddie, who was he from Major League?
He had some salve.
Right, he had all kind of. He like, I got some Benzol, that's Crisco, got Serpacil up here.
Yeah. And then he's like, I got a little chili powder up here too, in case I got to get my nose run and get it going.
Oh, that's right. There's nose run.
Load up the ball.
Well, Mark Gray said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I taught my son that. I'm kidding.
All right, our predictions.
Hey, son, look here. Never going to get anywhere being honest. Trust me, I know. Look at me. All right, I'm sorry. It's another show.
Yeah,
another show. All right. All right,
Kirsten, all the voices. Yeah, you just need to.
I got a lot of them.
Yes,
you got mud guy, you got analytics guy, you got
cheater,
dead voice,
and the cheater, the old baseball coach who blew his legs up. Okay, go ahead.
The next two series for the Sox are at home against St. Louis and the Orioles. Mm-hmm. What you guys think?
I feel like
get right week.
There we go. Exactly. This is it's time for some home cooking. You know what I mean? This time to I'd love to see them. Out sweeping 4 against Baltimore I would love a sweep always, but like just to make up for this weekend sweep. We're at home, like Tim just said. It's time to get right. 4 with Baltimore in your park is a good way to get right. Mm-hmm. St. Louis is going to be another test, in my opinion. And if we struggle against St. Louis right after against the Yankees, I think that metric that you look at, Tim, about the playoff chances, if they struggle with St. Louis, I would imagine that is going to dip a little bit because it's like, oh, okay, they're struggling with the 2 teams now. You know what I mean? So, but I don't know. We got to look out for how they respond to this sweep, and I'm going to say that I'm going to say they win. I I'm going to say they take 2 against St. Louis and take 3 against Baltimore.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the game of the week really that I want to take a look at for the White Sox this week is Tuesday night's game, Giolito versus Jack Flaherty on the pitcher's mound. That's an old school pitching matchup that I think could look a lot like the game we saw Friday night with Rodon and Montgomery. Both of those guys are really strong pitchers, obviously. So
I think
that's going to tell me a lot.
ESPN has Gant going up against Giolito and Flaherty going against Rodon on Wednesday. That's what ESPN has right now.
Oh, they changed it.
I mean, they kind of flip that stuff around sometimes, but
yeah, Fangraphs has got it opposite ways, but who knows?
Okay.
But if
who knows?
Whoever they throw against Flaherty is the one I want to watch because Flaherty is the best pitcher on the Cardinals. That guy's really, really good. And
with Rodon, according to this, if it is Rodon, I mean, I'm going to say maybe barely, arguably, he's our best pitcher right now.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even say it's arguable. Like
MLB app has it Flaherty and Giolito.
Does it?
Tuesday.
Okay. All right. 2 against 1. I'm sorry.
And it looks like, am I wrong about this, or do the Sox have 2 games scheduled for May 31st? They have a doubleheader on
at Cleveland. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, there was a lot of those games got skipped. A lot of those divisional games got skipped early in the season, knowing we'd have plenty of time to make it up. So.
That's sort of a fun old school Memorial Day doubleheader type of a situation.
Yeah.
Baseball on with the barbecue.
I wish they were home, but yeah. Okay, and what are we looking at with the Cubbies?
All right, the Cubs next 2 series, they're at Pittsburgh, and then the dreaded Reds are at Wrigley.
Yeah, I think here it's the same idea here, right? I mean, I think if the Cubs are going to make any noise in this division, obviously they got to hold on to this game tonight. But I think Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, you obviously got to win the games in your division. And Kristen, you said before, and I totally agree with you. It's the Reds are like the Cubs, like House of Horrors. I don't know what it is. It's like when the White Sox play the A's in Oakland. I don't know what historically. I don't know what happens there, but they just never ends well. So. At Pittsburgh, you got to sweep Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. If you're going to be a team that's going to look to add guys like you were talking about earlier, you got to sweep Pittsburgh and hopefully take 2 out of 3 from the Reds. But Fangraphs has only got them at like essentially a coin flip for the projections for this whole week. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of strength in the Cubs starting pitching. When you're throwing out guys like Trevor Williams and
oh man, Trevor Williams.
How much longer do we go with that before we start seeing if Keegan Thompson can start?
Man.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I've seen enough of Trevor Williams.
Man, yeah,
he needs an opener. He needs
an opener.
That's right.
Yeah,
and a middle and a setup guy.
He just needs
get that man an opener
and a middle reliever. He needs
closing. He needs the bench.
He needs the bench.
Go grab some bench.
Go grab some Iowa.
Go grab that IL.
Go
for your injury.
Go get some Iowa. Get a helping of Iowa. Yeah.
I mean, it is a nice story with his father following him, but we're done with that story. We need one.
Yeah, that's a cool spring training story.
Yeah, right.
We're still talking about that in May. That tells you how bad you are.
You're right.
Yeah, he's been bad. But all right, well, thanks for hanging in, Tim, with us. Kristen, I think we could just close this out.
Yeah, we can. We covered everything.
Yeah, we covered everything. No news with our mighty Bulls and Bears. Too much to report, but hey, as usual, 2 teams, 1 city. My name is Emilio Bucks.
I'm Kristen Petit.
I'm Tim Gronholm. Nice to talk to you all.
All right, guys. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and Yeah, and let's hope the Cubs pull this game out.
Right.
Because they need to like make their mark on this thing. Like always, but definitely now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big game right now.
Yes, it is.
For sure.
All right, take care,
guys.
y'all.
All right.
Take
Bye.
care. Good night.